Today I'm bringing you part 7 of the property tour, what I guess I'm calling the Middle Woods. It's a continuation of different areas that we've been to, and I'm standing out here right now in the middle of the Middle Woods, and I hope you find today's episode enjoyable, informative, entertaining. If you have any questions, suggestions, comments, please drop them below, and I hope you enjoy today's clip. As always, it is a great day to be outdoors. So we're going to do a drone tour to start this off. You can see the property boundaries and the two different trails in yellow and red. And then now what I'm going to do is I'm going to fly south with a slight canter to the southwest, and you should be able to make out the main four-wheeler trail as it snakes through the frame. You can see the big giant white pines, which is a roosting area for turkeys. You can make out what I call the hidden field. And now as we jog to the southwest, in the very back, you can see the creek bottom slough plot, and then you can maybe make out what I call the hidden plot. I'll bring those to you in a future installment of the property tour as well. So this is the woods we'll be flying through or going through today. Now I'm going to take you on a slightly different look of it. We are panning to the north right now, and we are on top of the hidden field, which you can make out in the bottom of the frame. And in the area right now is what I call the roundabout that rounds about that hard maple tree. I have a water hole, mock scrape, cutting link camera, and two different trails right there. I've labeled these different features, as you can see. Now we're just going to fly to the north. This is where I'll take you in the second half of the tour. So in the first half, we walked down the access trail from north to south from the Narrows to the hidden field, and now we're going to walk out along the four-wheeler trail that snakes through this middle section of woods. You can make out a pile of junk that was left there by the previous owners that maybe one day I'll get rid of, but you know, it's hard to get to and hard to take care of. Giant white pines again, that roosting area for turkeys, and just that beautiful skyline that makes the property kind of unique. And then we're going to pan up or fly up, and you can make out the clear cut, which I brought to you in a different part of this series, and then the big main bottom field, which is another one of those blank slates, blank canvases for hopefully potential different use in the future. Here we're walking straight south along the property border fence line. In fact, that's the survey marker, not the big post, but the little cement post next to it. And you know, I used my trail mower, like the little walk behind, and I even cut a trail here because we do have bow stand on the very top of this, which has a really neat view. You can see down a long ways. It's a nice relaxing spot, kind of get an inventory of deer. This area on the neighbors is a bedding area, but you know, you have to hunt your land, otherwise what are you going to do? And then, you know, this was supposed to be just for access, and I cut this in the summer and it was hotter than heck. And obviously I've created something that deer use too. But this is how we get to the top of our property if we have a north wind. You know, we hunt the wind more than anything. And ultimately, what I'd love to do, kind of up by the stump that's coming into frame right now, would be to make a permanent blind, a permanent stand, and I would build the platform and build the stand on site. And this way you could see down into the valley and also to the Narrows. But it's going to be something that takes time, and hopefully I manufacture some of that. Also planted red pines a few years back. They didn't do it quite as well along this line, so that's like a 4-year-old red pine, and she's kind of struggling, but all the same, still worth the effort, kind of to screen access. So we're looking west right now, more of that logging regen. There I do have a bow stand in that clump of basswoods. You can't even see it from here. That's why basswoods are awesome, even though they're very, very soft woods. And then there's the Narrows. So I'm on the access trail right now, looking west into our middle section of woods. That is probably our best section of woods in terms of where you'd want to gun hunt, where deer like to travel the most consistently, and that would be what we call the hidden field. This is where I'd want to put a permanent gun stand. You need elevation. You need elevation to see down into this stuff. I do have some trails already established. I'll show you those when we walk out today. But this is would be a dynamite spot, but you need to be at least 10 feet off the ground, and then you would be able to see into the narrows over to the clear cut. And you know, I sat here a couple seasons ago and saw buck after buck after buck. My son's first buck died pretty much right there. You know, it's quite the memory. That's obviously why we do this. And you know, when you have a rifle, you could shoot down into this below you. And we do have a bank spline further to the east, but you can't cover all this with one person. So this is a spot that I really want to add something to, just to get more out of it. I know it's a little bit obnoxious having a stand on the border, but you know, we're hunting ours looking in. So it's just something that should have happened last year, didn't happen this year, but luckily we got pretty mild weather. So this is kind of a view of what it looks like. There is a trail 20 yards from me. It's our four-wheeler trail. Again, another one of those hopefully steer deer trails, but you know, they like covers, so they don't use them as often as I anticipated. So this is one of the main trails coming off of my property. In the background is the four-wheeler trail. This is actually the spot that my middle son shot both his deer out of, his first bow buck and his first bow deer period, and his first gun buck. And the stand is almost below you, which is a challenging thing. Probably should be moved, but there are also trails below the stand, and so that's why we picked that spot. And if we do make a permanent stand, I will have a bow window out of it as well. So we didn't really move very far from the last clip. You can maybe see how the four-wheeler trail wraps around for a bow shot and how it's kind of brushed out. And then we are heading down into a wash that, you know, does flood in the spring. And one of the things I'm probably going to do is try to add creative boulders and rocks in there just to keep it where it's at, but you don't want to speed up the flow of water either. So there's it's a sniper. I think those are 16-foot stands. It's served its purpose, got it at Menards. Kind of transitioning away from ladder stands as the kids get older. Right now we're looking back up to the north along the fence line access trail. There's a bow stand. You can probably maybe make out the strap if you're really paying attention. And one of the things that I wanted to touch on in this clip was, this is our neighbor's woods. I think it needs to be logged. I don't really care if I blow my scent into it when I'm accessing. That's how we hunt. And then they have a landing in here. This is a 40 deep, and this is where they'll drive in and park. And it actually is not a bad thing. So it's one of those things where you have to kind of like let things play out in your mind and then get over your maybe initial reaction, because all that happens is they deter deer from using this area, and you just play that. So you're hunting the hunters, meaning, you know, they're gonna park here because that's how they access their property, and the deer have learned to adjust, and so you just know what the deer are going to do. So I think that I'd call that hunting the hunters, maybe a little bit. Now we're down in our bottom ravine, and one of the things I did in this section of woods is I love hinge cutting, and I came through and tried to create a barrier / bedding area by hinging a ton of trees in here. This whole section is hinge cut, and we never go into this section of woods all the way down to the creek bottom. And I was trying to steer deer so they would go between one of our two stands, and there's just not enough of a barrier with the hinge cutting and the different things. So it's maybe done it a little bit, but it hasn't been fully effective. So I just didn't want them to use this valley because we don't have a shot to this valley right now, especially with the bow, but with a gun we could probably get to it. We're just above the wash right now. You can see some of my hinging efforts. I think that one died. I think that broke off. I might walk over just to see. There's another one right there, a little low hinge. What I was trying to do is I was trying to get them to go up or down, not come right through here. Kind of get a feel for how thick this is as well. Regenerating awesomely. And then we're looking straight to the west, and this wash goes all the way down to the creek bottom. It's a neat natural feature, and it was a night picture, but one of the biggest bucks I've ever seen in my life on trail camera was when I had a camera out in this wash going from one section to another. So just a better idea of how thick this is. We're going up to the south now, out to the hidden field, and I'll show you a couple stands and a water hole there too. Right now we're at a hinge that I did in the woods, trying to blockade deer and then give them browse too. Right now they're walking right underneath it because I hinged it uphill, probably the way the tree was leaning, but this is producing new browse for the deer. And so this was a big maple that I sacrificed, and you know, it's gonna feed them for a long time. So definitely alive, definitely doing well. And I did it for purpose of trying to manipulate where they traveled. That was a fail. I don't want to be cutting down all my trees, you know, I can't do that. But it's a little deep, but it's still connected. So, and again, you know, anybody tells you about hinge cutting is going to say hinge at your own risk, and I've been cutting wood my whole life, and I'm sure I stayed out of the way when that came up like that. We are looking north along the fence line. There's the landing of the neighbors. What I do is I walk straight into here, cut a little trail straight to the stand. That's a River's Edge. I don't know what model, but it is a well-built stand, and get in and out of there super quiet, and then continue along right along the fence, you know. And this spot right here needs to be brushed out from the side because I'm bumping into things with my shoulders as I hold the phone. But another good spot to look for, and it's brushed out for a bow stand, is, or for that bow stand, is right here, because this is a corner of the field, and I like to come right here, peek out, see what's going on in the field, and then you can see what they're seeing, or you can see what they're trying to do right up there. And I'll show you some other features of this spot. Now, this is a spot that you get a lot of neat deer buck pictures of. I've taken videos over the years of ones that I wasn't going to shoot, or maybe they're too far, or maybe they're out in the field hunting. So this is a dynamite spot. And then I'll just pan over here super fast. That takes you up to another bank spline, and then another tractor road comes into our property. So here's a field access road that comes off of the south end of our property. Here's my dad's bank spline. This is what he contributed. This one is 12 feet off the ground, and this was the last one I put up, and so I got better at it. We added that window to the middle. That bow window's there for a bow shot. Could use a couple more windows, and we will work on putting those in, and I'll bring that to you in a video. Primarily you're hunting this hidden field, which I'll pan to in a second. And we have a second kind of woods funnel, I'll call it, or I don't know what you call it, but what I did is I put a trail that comes out right here, hopefully to steer the deer movement. This is all deer all the time. Everything in this pan will be. They like to come out of that corner. Very tempting to want to put something over there, but I don't want to pressure the woods or the deer, or figure out this field. Now, my ultimate goal is to take this property out of ag, but if I did that, I would want to keep this in some sort of ag, just because, you know, I love it, and I don't know what that would look like, and I would love your suggestions. So we're looking back towards a bow stand. You can probably maybe make out the four-wheeler trail that I'm going to take you on in just a second. Looking back north, when I access along this line, I walk right along the field edge, or the fence line, and I have some pines planted. And if I did transition this out of ag, I would bow this with trees. I would have my corner still be there. I'd maybe make a little bit of a U with the trees to hide my access along the fence line, and then bow it back in right here. And probably will always leave this banks right here. It's in a neat spot, and you do have some shots along the tractor road too. I'm standing in the field, and this is a view of where the bucks and deer like to come out into the field. They also like to come out over here. There's just a couple natural places that they like to have licking branches and scrape, and I haven't taken them down just because it hasn't really affected their movement for the negative. And you know, you want to be able to pattern the deer, and I'm up to the idea of taking them down, but at the same time haven't and probably won't. So here's a river's edge ladder stand. I like that one mesh seat. It's got a third bar for the ladder itself, and you are actually pretty concealed because the old have a tree wider than you. I'm a big guy, so I need big trees, but this one works, especially if you don't move too much. You're not actually that skylined, and it is kind of hard to pick out. I camouflage all my stands before I put them in the tree too. I just think that breaks up the outline of the ladder. Now we're panning towards, or I'm walking towards, but it's really greasy out here, walking towards a mock scrape and a licking branch. It is 25 yards. I am right-handed, so I can swing this direction out of that stand. And I did something a little different here. You know, this is everything. So here, by the way, here's a natural licking branch with the remnants of a scrape. Trust me, that is. And then there's my manufactured one. I call this the roundabout because what I did is I mowed a trail in a circle, and believe it or not, the deer actually like to use it. They love to travel this field edge. You can see them coming and going. I have some footage of them fighting, bucks fighting out here. But I mowed this in a circle. Deer will go on both sides towards this water hole and then give me a shot towards that bow stand. So here's an example of a Cuddy Link trail camera safe that I camouflaged using construction adhesive. Now obviously the solar panel is giving this away. This is 6.5, 7 feet off the ground, angled down. And if it was just this camera box, it would be great. And another thing I would do is I don't, maybe it fell down, but put some logs around the side. But this is an example of like just adding that extra dimension and how good it is to hide the camera. Here's the water hole. I followed Jeff Sturgis for the water holes too, and he said 100 gallons. I'm like, 70. And you know, this is a narrower, wider one, and they were probably cheaper too, easier to get in the ground. This one did run out of water this year. I also have to kind of watch that, I guess. It is a dynamite spot for them too. I think it takes deer a while to get used to the water holes, but she's filling back up now and obviously needs some attention, but that's a springtime shore. This is the section of woods that we have always had as a sanctuary. I'd even be hesitant to let the kids grouse hunt in, even though I'm a softie and probably would. It was hard maple, which was a great revenue source for us, and we logged this really hard, and then I even hinged it more, and I hinged everything in this back 40. So now we're heading on the four-wheeler trail back up towards the narrows. So this will meander back towards the north eventually, taking some different turns to create some edge and corners. And then that'll be it for this. We're on the four-wheeler access trail. Just wanted to point out, you got your briars. Those are awesome for deer. You got your regen, you got your scrapes right here. And then I just wanted to pan over to this hillside. It is thicker than it looks, you know, but it's just more of that diversity in terms of what the land looks like based off of how aggressive it was logged. And kind of lucked out and kind of explained to the loggers that some areas I wanted very aggressive, some I wanted medium, and then they kind of ran out of time too. So I was a little bit perturbed by that, but then at the end I found that to be a win too. So we still had logging, it just wasn't as aggressive as other places. So originally, a long time ago, before what I was doing, I had a food plot here. This would be another example of a place to maybe add a couple evergreen trees. Have to cage them, I've mentioned that before. Some prickly ash and some hinges in the back. And then now we're walking towards the wash, I call it. And then also you can see the trail and how it works its way around up the hill. Wanted to stop here in the wash and give a rant. I don't know why you'd work this hard to dump trash in the middle of your property. I know that I've been places down in Blair and off of the edge of most field edges, they did it too. But if you're in the market for an old stove, I think 4 of them down here, and I'll give them to you for a good price. But it's annoying. I would love to get these out of there, but you know, it's just not a priority right now. It's a hard spot to get to, especially with all the habitat manipulation. But just to give you some idea, there's the pines. It's another set of white pines. Loggers didn't want any of them, and I just think they're beautiful and cool, and they add to what your property looks like, if you know, in terms of the skyline. So those will always be there. Another turkey roosting area, and then here's our wash, which the camera's not doing it very good justice, but this does flood in the spring, and that flowing water is very peaceful. But I want to make sure I have a way to like prevent further erosion, and so I'll probably throw some stuff in there. I can access across this with a 4-wheeler. You just come across at an angle, and as long as it stays that way, we're good to go. We're on the 4-wheeler access trail right now, looking south towards the hidden field. I'm going to pan to the east. You can see the neighbor's landing, and then now I'm going to show you some of the meanders, the bends as we go uphill. Again, so it's not a straight movement for the deer. And then 2, to manipulate and create bow shots. A couple years ago, I had a beautiful snowy day that I came out for late bow season, and it's one of those times that it presented itself just like it was supposed to right on this trail. So it's really rewarding when things like that come together. So we're walking uphill right now, kind of to the northeast, and then we have our big bend to, again, kind of create a corner and also to produce a bow shot for me. So I'm going to end this clip up here so you can see exactly how it played out. So deer came from the west, gave me a chance to draw back, stood right here, and then I was right there. So beautiful opportunity, beautiful day, and that's what's rewarding about habitat manipulation. So we're at the bow stand, that sniper stand that's below the main trail, and you know, this is where my son had the most success this year, so we pretty much named the stand after him. Why wouldn't you? And I'm gonna walk you out back to the narrows now. So right here, this is that main trail I pointed out from a different direction. This would be the location that I'd really like to get a permanent blind, maybe right in front of these clumps of oaks. I think those are oaks. And then you could see the narrows, and you could also obviously see all the way down into the bottom. So we're, I would say, the military crest right now of this ridge. This ridge is running to the west, and a little bit nicer day today, so you can kind of get a better feel for what things look like down in here, and then back to that hidden field and into this section of woods. And so I'm gonna take us along this trail that I have meandering to the west right now, and then you can see the big pines, the turkey roosting area, those big majestic white pines. And then just pan a little bit back to the north here too, just to give you an idea of where we're at. That's that clump of basswoods. It has a different stand in it that's on the narrows. And then we're gonna walk out this way for a minute, and then I'll take another turn that takes us back to the right, which would be north, and then we'll be out back where the tour started, but just a little bit further down. So as we walk out this way, you can probably make out kind of a little fallow area that the original owners, or the people that we purchased the land from, had an old gun shack in. It was dilapidated and dead center in the middle of the property, so we were never going to use it. So we've made the corner from west. So we're looking kind of south, just panning into the turkey roosting area and maybe some sheds, you know, that thermal cover from pines. I think pines do have value. I know some people don't really care for them, but
I think they're part of a diverse property. And then this was an old stand, again in the middle of the property. It's a double muddy ladder stand, nice stand, needs to get out of here. We just can't access this, even though it is a fun spot to sit, to see wildlife. But again, when you're causing more harm than good, it's counterproductive. So here's that fallow field I was talking about, or fallow area. I would like to plant more crab apples out here just because I like planting food trees. And then now we are walking out to the big main bottom field, and I'm just gonna stop this tour once we hit this gate and then turn back towards the Narrows. So here's the Narrows right here, and we just started our tour a little bit higher up.
All right, so I'm going to take you on the Google Map portion of the tour. This is the main farm. Over here is the new portion of the farm I'll bring to you in a future series with a darker color, orange. And we've already been on the tour along the north line and along the east line of the existing property, and then the south line, and then into the clear cut, and then also into the cattle walk. So we started our journey today right here and worked our way along from north to south into what I call the hidden field. And then we worked our way back along this ATV trail. So I'm going to zoom in here next and just go over these things in a little bit more detail. So this is our access trail that I took you down at first, and this is the stand where my son shot his first ever buck with a rifle, and then first ever bow deer was a doe. And then we ended up walking out into this corner, and then I pointed out this stand, and then I talked about potentially putting this into some type of screening in the future if I could leave this in ag, with the goal of the rest of the ag fields being taken out. It's a banks blind. Here's the water hole and licking branch, and then we walked our way back up this four-wheeler trail that meanders around, and then ended our tour right here back at the Narrows. And so we focused on this section of woods primarily. It was a lot of hard maples, and it was logged mediumly in terms of aggressiveness. And I'm just going to end by zooming us back out a little bit, because I did mention this trail, and this will be in another episode, I would say, of the tour, and then we call this the back 40. And then I do have a plan to also bring you a food plot series to just go over the different food plots that already exist, and then some of the plans for the future. So I hope you enjoyed this today. I always enjoy sharing these things with you and look forward to your ideas. I will be maintaining this trail in the spring, and then maybe mowing it again in the late summer. I failed to mention that in the clip, but I'll probably bring that to you as well. So that's it for this, and thanks.
Well, thank you for watching today's episode, the latest installment in the property tour. I hope you enjoyed it. Hope you found it informative. And as always, I appreciate your viewership and support of this channel. And thank you for making it a great day to be outdoors.